Hey, it's Don, the auction professor. We are live. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. We are actually, I do have some list of things to discuss too. I have some freebies coming up here. I know I'd originally talked about the Trilobite for Halloween, but we're going to push that to Christmas just because of some of the other things that this has led us to. And I'm waiting on a approval or a disapproval for a museum gift shop right now. And until I do that, I might have to sign something with them. So I want to make sure I'm safe and haven't done any other marketing until I hear their response. So I've got longer than Halloween till I might take 90 days still. So anyway, but I am going to give away for Halloween, and I'll talk about it again. These are actually originals. These are hand painted watercolors that I did for postcard designs. This one is actually on my page, my Facebook group page. This is the original. You know, it's just a piece of paper. It's actually watercolor, 120-pound pressed watercolor board paper. So these are quality. I took some time on doing these. I'm going to draw a postcard back for the winner on here too. It'll be signed, the whole works. I get $100 average on these if I sell these on eBay. So I'm giving away $100 worth of basically a free gift, just FYI. So literally that's what I spent. I haven't decided on which one. I may just let the winner pick which one they want out of these three. These are past designs that I've already sold or still have some left of them. I'd like to thank the folks that did buy cards. Again, if you'd like to patronize the channel, on my Facebook group, I do have my postcards, so you're not just giving me money. You'll actually get something in return. And if this goes, far, it might be worth something more in the future. Who knows? Because I've got a lot of art endeavors coming up here. Book-wise, we've got a couple books that are literally coming off the press real soon here. I've got my new Halloween cards that I am going to post a couple on my Facebook group as well on Friday, just so you can see them. But we're going to be touching other things, obviously, besides just artwork. But the Trilobite, as long as everything goes okay, I'll still be able to give one away for Christmas. But again, there's more to signing deals with galleries and things like that. And it limits your ability to sell in certain markets. So I just want to cover myself. So I don't want to be reneging on anything. I will still give one away. Nice hand painted one. And again, those are in the $300 range. So that'll be a Christmas one. I'm also going to have a cash prize giveaway for our 300th video. I know it's a little ways away, but we're fast approaching. I think we have 226 or 227 videos up right now. So I wanted to do something when we hit the 300 mark. Just something in my head. I wanted to make that mark here at a certain point. So anyway, I'm going to have some freebies, as I said. And for Halloween, the week of Halloween, it's going to be an actual original piece of artwork, hand painted, hand done, hand designed by me. So that's what you're going to get if you would like that. I haven't decided how I'm going to give it away, but I guarantee you 100% we're going to give one of those three away. And again, those are things that I personally have sold every actual original piece of artwork that I've sold on eBay has sold, all the postcards. And I usually get about $100 from them. I've gotten 130 for some, or a little higher than that on some of them too. So the original hand done ones sell very well. So just FYI. I've got a video coming out too on smalls. And I want to discuss that a little bit too in the video. I started off with selling smaller stuff because we lived in apartments for a long time. So I know there's a lot of people who do. If you ever lived up like in a big city or in older apartments, we lived in DC for a while and we could see the Potomac, but the apartment was 30 plus years old and the setups they have, it's really small storage and things like that. So anyway, that's why I started with the smalls, and we're going to do some videos on that too. I also have a video breaking down some of the items that I sell. I'm going to show you cost, my sale price, the percentage, and every fee that I pay across the board for everything. I'm going to break it down one by one. You'll see what the cost of the shipping materials is, how much I get paid for, shipping everything across the board. I'm going to show you some of my listings so you can get an idea and see the percentages that you can get when you keep your costs down. So just FYI, that's something hopefully will be helpful to some people. And then I'm also going to go over the actual total eBay fee system and structure on everything they have. I know if you've listed something today or in the last couple of days, they did add promotional or promoted listings into your listing form automatically. So I don't like that, but that's what they're doing. I'm trying to push it a little more. Like I listed some cards and stuff today that are priced at $950, $750, and the fees for the promoted was like $50 and $60 a pop. So I didn't even look at it after that point. I don't do promotions for the most part. I don't really need to. So anyway, but that kind of covers the basics there. As I said, freebies, Trilobite for Christmas, and then Halloween. And today I will give an offer late. I'll wait till there's more people on, but I'll send a postcard to somebody. I'll do a shout out, and if somebody can pop something up on the screen here, we'll give away a postcard too. And again, I've given out quite a few postcards, and we've had a bunch of people buy them as well too. So it's going to be a freebie. All you have to do is email me or address the winner to my YouTube address on the About Me page, and you will get a free card shipped. Everything, you don't have to do anything but give me your address. So just FYI, but that will be somewhere later in this video. I will do it just so we have a little more people on it. Just started, and sometimes we have 60, 70 people. So I just want to make sure I give more people a chance to get something for free if they wanted to. So let's go over and see who's here. Jans Flips, welcome. Richard Sanders, Just in Time Flippin', David Morgan, Pedlin Profits, Janet Planet, Anthony Fazzini, Matthias Tayala. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. I am very sorry. No, I do not have a retail store. Richard Johnson. Let's see here. I lost my spot. Edward Dixon, Disney Family, 515, Sublime 90, Robert Reagan, Michelle Trout, welcome. Meep Merp. That's what we got today. I've had that question too. I do not run any storefront whatsoever. We don't rent a building. I have my father's workshop that is not here. It is at my mother's house. It's a big, large workshop. He did cabinetry in addition. So I've got a huge area with a few tools and then mostly just records, just jam-packed, a couple 100,000 records. I've been buying records for probably 10 years now, even before I started to sell a lot, because I'm a big music buff. I've got, you name it, I've got it. So anyway, I don't have retail space. I don't like the cost invested in it. A brick and mortar is not for me. Most of what I sell are unique items that if I had a store, I'm not going to sell as much as I would because there wouldn't be enough local market to draw people to a store. So it would just be a waste of time and money for me to run any form of retail establishment. Plus, the minute you get a warehouse or, a facility, you're usually doubling your expenses right off the bat. In most cases, your warehouse is probably costing more than your house payment or whatever your housing structures are. So that's what I look at. And you're doubling electricity. It depends on the deal you get. But either way, I'm not going to add a couple $1,000 to my bottom line monthly when I don't need to. We've eliminated or are eliminating quite a few clothing now too. As I said, some of the other racks are gone on clothing too. And we're just going to be doubling up on smalls and paper items because literally I've got, oh, geez, I wish you could see how much I got here, but I've got a ton of paper just stacked up to the brim on paper right now. We've got some other devices coming in to help us work through this. I've got 5,000 slides that we've sorted through. Those are the good ones that I want to start listed. So I pulled out my old slide scanner, and it just doesn't sync very well, and the compatibility wizard just won't sync up. So I actually had to order I will be ordering a new slide scanner too. So anyway, that's literally on the main issues there that I've had. I know I've had some questions on some of the videos on, that things aren't selling, and I did one on the top 5 things that I do. Now, I just wanted to address that too, because I did have some questions. Somebody emailed me about it as well too. It depends on what you're selling. If you know which video, I just had it a couple days ago, 5 things to do that will increase your profits. So look for it if you're interested. There's some good advice in there. It's tested advice, stuff that I've done and actually has helped us across the board. And everybody who I've talked to or pointed some of those issues to has increased their sales. So it's not some fictitious, I like to do sales, and I used to have to handle merchandising and advertising for stores. If you want to, hang on, I just lost chat. There's actually, I'm in a couple TV commercials for a restaurant that I actually ran as a regional and as a general manager in the Meridian, Mississippi area. I may post it one day in my Facebook group, but I'm in the video. I was running the establishment. So I've done a lot of actual things like that. I actually did some broadcasts from the radio quite often that I set up with some of the Choctaw Indian tribes in Mississippi, the casinos there, and things like that. So I know marketing as well too. I did take marketing in business classes actually in college too. So I look outside the box on every aspect of what I do. I know I'm learning other areas still too, or trying to, so I don't know everything. Some of what I say, take it, you have to address it properly, and you have to be selling the right items for those procedures to work. All those top 5 would not work for the most part in clothing, especially ones that are long tail clothing items. Clothing is a different monster, but anything in collectibles and antiques, comic books included, most everything I said in those 5 things will work across the board in most any collectibles that I sell. Everything that I sell, I use those philosophies for, other than maybe newer magazines. If it's a vintage good style magazine, like a sci-fi digest from the 20s or 30s, or Black Widow Digest or something like that, I'm going to list that 3 times. But most of the newer magazines and stuff, you add $5 or $10 over the last price and off you go. They're quick lists. Well, thank you, Thrifting 24/7. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate that. I've got I'm not even a super chat. I'm sorry. Haven't had one of those yet. I wasn't even actually thinking about the super chats, but I thank you, Thrifting 24/7. What I put out here and talk about are literally from being in the trenches. I get dirty what I do. It's a sweaty job. I had somebody make a comment. I actually had a couple of them about my fingernails in a video. I don't really care what you think about it. I get dirty what I do, and I'm working when I'm doing this, even when I'm doing the video. So I may be dirty once in a while. I may have just come in from a pick and been digging through someone's garage once in a while, or a warehouse or an antique mall, crawling under tables, crawling in attics. If you're not willing to get dirty to do this job, you're really not willing to make the good money. I know there's ways to do it without getting dirty, but I worked in restaurants. I was hands-on. I cooked on the grill if we were busy. We cooked eggs. Whatever it took, I did it. If the bathroom was dirty and I couldn't get anybody off the floor or something, I would clean it. So, my employees always respected me. I tried to do the right thing. My boss hated me. Some of them did. I have a couple that really love me and still talk to me, but I always did the right thing regardless of the case. But anyway, let's go on to see what we got here. Again, I talked about one more thing before I look at any questions. I talked about putting together a list of all of my videos and what's in them. I am almost done. I've got 200 some odd videos, so I had to go back through and actually look through the videos to remember what was in each of them. I wrote down some basics on a page when I did them, but for the most part, it's hard to remember. So I'm actually trying to get a detailed description of every one of my listings. That's going to be posted on the About Me page on YouTube, and I'll have a special version of it for just my Facebook group too, that'll have a little more details and stuff like that too. I'm going to start posting separate content to my Facebook group as well, and I do have a Patreon video that's almost done, and I will have a Patreon page coming up. I work really hard at what I do, including the videos. I know the quality isn't as good as some other sites. I'm more interested in the content, but we are working on improving the quality. I've got a new HD camera that I really didn't have time to hook up that will be doing the live feed as well too. In fact, let me angle this just a little bit better there. So I'm going to improve what I can here too. Sound-wise, it should sound pretty good, I hope. We've got some adjustments we made, and we bought some new cables and things like that too, just to make sure. But, I'm not looking out to make a fortune off anything. I love talking about this, and I love what I do. I really love the antiques. So, you can see my artwork is related to the stuff that I do as well too. So this isn't an act to get you sunk into something. This is just me. I know I'm not everybody's taste, and I'm probably not most of the other YouTubers' taste either, but that's just how I am. You like it, you don't. So anyway, let's go over here and see what we got. And again, thank you, Thrifting 24/7. Anybody who isn't in my Facebook group and would like to, it's The Auction Professor on Facebook. It should be a quick find if you're looking for it. And I do answer most questions on there. It's taken a little longer these days because, a couple days a week, I might get 200, probably not 200, but close to 200 between comments and questions a day now. And I try to answer them all. And then that's not even counting some of the private emails that I get or instant messages, because I do have a few subscribers on instant messages. Those are mostly the ones that signed up when I first started. It's just been a thing. I try to keep most of that off my personal account just because we have friends that try to contact us too. And my Facebook page has kind of been taken over by a YouTube video. So anyway, let's go back over here and see what we got. Already a page in. Janet Plant is from UK. One place I wouldn't mind going is the UK. Piccadilly Square, for some reason, is always rung into my head. But anyway, we said that. Do we have a retail? No. And welcome to everybody. If I missed you, I am sorry. Jerry Thomas, welcome. Jaded Gypsy, Michigan Fines, Kimbra Fowler. Let's see here. I think that's everybody. Edward Dixon, Tracy S. King of Thrift, Liz for a Day. Welcome, everybody. King of Thrift, I got you. I'll get down to the other ones as we get down there. Again, evening, everybody. And if you missed the beginning, I'm going to be giving away a chance for a postcard. And I do have a Halloween giveaway of a $100 value original piece of artwork that I hand did. I'll show it again before we exit off tonight, just if you're curious, for those who missed it. If you missed some of the comments and some of my startup, you can watch the beginning from, the whatever point we are, the 15-minute mark up till now. So anyway, let's see here. One other thing too, in my group here, there's some people that posted some postcards and things too. You want to see some stuff and you're not knowledgeable in certain areas, joining the Facebook group will at least help you to see some stuff. I always put prices on them. I always give a description. I always even give an idea on how to list it and what would be the best option. Again, if I give some advice, I can't 100% say everything I say is going to work for every single person. For us, there's a factor. When I give you a price or something, that's personally what I honestly would put on that item. And my descriptions are pretty much dead on what I'm talking about. If I don't know it, obviously, I'm going to give a quick look and see. But for the most part, the paper stuff, I'm pretty knowledgeable. There's only a limited number of different types of piece of paper that come out. They're not making new antique items. So, it's easier to find and know because it's a limited base of stuff. I know there's postcards that'll turn up that it'll be a one of a kind just because they're so rare. But you can still judge those and price those and describe them, as basic terms anyway. So anyway, let's see here. Hang on, let's get a question I've got. I think the first one is Jaded Gypsy. Don, how do you feel about running an auction or two to bring traffic into your eBay store? I run auctions only out of necessity because I get 1,000 per. I've got 2,000 auctions that I throw away if I don't list auctions on it. So all I list auctions on are items that have been up for a while, and it's usually cheaper stuff. $3.99 to say $20 or $30 stuff, and I've got a certain section of items that I only list for auctions, and the rest literally almost always go up as a bin price. And through the years and through just literally doing this over and over and over again, I can tell you without a doubt that the collectibles in the antiques market, you'll make more money by doing a bin, buy it now option with best offer. I crank the prices up 3 times is usually what I do for any item. And I've talked about that in my video this week, just a couple videos ago. So I literally do that. I honestly do that. I'm going to put it, I actually wrote that down on yesterday. I am actually going to show you some of the items that I've sold in identical items and what they've sold for. So you can see that sometimes I actually do get 3 times it. Now I'm going to show you my logic in pricing things. And I've talked about this before quite a few times, actually. Just because something's sold for a price at buy it now, even if there's 10 items that all sold at a certain price, let's say I've got a record worth $25. Well, let's not say it's worth $25. Let's say it's sold for $25 on 10 different buy it nows. That would not, I would price it higher than that because that just tells me that every one of those items sold at $25, probably the first couple people priced it based on one they saw. And it just is a spiral effect. And I can guarantee you that happens. You can look up stuff yourself. Don't take my word on it. Look at comps. You'll see stuff, certain prices, especially when you see an item that's just all sold at buy now and they all sold. If they all sold at a buy it now, nothing of that sold for over, say, $10, $25, I would double it. I might be the only one that doubles it, but when I'm the only one up and it's a rarer item and there's only like 3 up every 2 or 3 months, they're not going to be looking at the ended auctions. I can tell you for sure that the majority of people who do not know their items, inside and out, like trade cards or something, like a basketball card collector, a baseball card collector knows what each card's worth. He knows the value, he keeps up on it. But most people who buy the majority of stuff from me have no clue and they do not take the time to research their prices. So if you put it as a bin, you'll get more money out of it as a generalized rule. In clothing, it works that way too. I don't have nearly, and I mean nearly as much luck selling stuff on auction. And in all honesty, I have more items not paid out of my auctions than I ever do. I've got 2 right now out of my auctions. And this is the last group that runs because I eat them up. I'll run the same items 3 times throughout the month. 300 and some odd items. I'll keep relisting them once, twice, 3 times just to use up my 1,000 on each of the accounts. Because you get with me, I get 10,000 free. They're not really free. I figure out the actual price per auction listing based on my $299 store price. That's what I pay, $299 per store. So $600 for my 2 anchor stores. And then I pay for a smaller store too. But I figured that all out. So that's kind of how I do that. But auctions are not the best for antiques and collectibles. They may work for many items, or really high dollar items they can work for too. Some insane stuff will sell really good on auction, but for the most part, I do not do auction. I do not recommend auction in the items that I sell. And I even put my clothing up as bins for the most part. You do religiously get more money. I guarantee it. So anyway, hopefully I didn't ramble on too long with that, but that's the take on it for me. That's my honest take on it. You can look at my store. 95% of everything I've got up is a bin. And almost everything I show you in my what sold videos that go up on every Sunday are literally items that were bins. Almost every single 99.9% of everyone. I hardly ever show a auction just because they're just junk items basically that I'm just trying to blow out. I literally don't relist them until I get more free auctions too. So I'll have 300 and some odd, just auctions, or items just sitting there that I don't relist until I get free ones, because it's not worth me spending money on some of them. I've whittled them down, the ones that have been up for a long time, or I've pulled stuff out of inventory here. I've tried a couple more tests. I've got some markdowns going and experiment wise too. So I do play around with all that, but let's move on to the questions here again. Let's see here. Rich Sanders, any advice on how to best remove a full-page print ad from a magazine? Now, I talked about this. Actually, I don't think I put the video up yet, honestly. I shot a video a couple days ago on print ads, literally on just what to do with print ads specifically, because I've gotten literally probably 20 plus questions between comments and actual emails to my personal accounts or from my Facebook group. If you're not sure on the ads and the magazine as whole, do not rip it out until you know it's going to sell. What I recommend doing is put a tag on the magazine that matches, or like put a number, I don't have a postie here, but put a postie on the magazine. Use the number you have on that postie that you place on the magazine in the title to tell which magazine the ads came from. Take a picture of the magazine and list the magazine as a whole magazine, and then list the ads at the very same time. Chances are, if it's not a great magazine, the ads are going to sell first anyway, but this gives you the option. Put a higher price on the magazine, so if it does sell, it compensates you for the few cents in listing fees to list the 5 or 6 ads that may be in it. The minute you sell an ad, then you take the magazine down and you cut it up. That way you're double dutying it. And I would honestly recommend, if you want to do the magazines too, start putting some on Etsy as well too, because they will sell on Etsy. We've sold them. You can also put some up on Amazon. And again, I'm working on putting a video together to show you what the forms actually look like and what my form that I turned into Amazon, how it looked like when it was filled in. Literally, I had to send in the same form like 5 or 6 times over a whole month to get it approved. So I'm going to show you the end result to go straight in, so you know what you're going to do with it. So just keep that in mind. So that'll be something coming up. But when you want to cut the magazines up, literally put it down so the spine is there and just pull the staples out. Once you pull the staples out, chances are the ad is only on one side of the fold. So you can literally just take a pair of scissors and leave part of the other page from the folded side, the other fold side, attached to it. That way you're not cutting the ad at all. You can cut the page next to it. Now I have a paper cutter, so I'll disassemble the book. I'll whack the ads down at the fold line where the staples go, and then I'll center it and square it off from there. I can show you how to square them off and how to center them if anybody's interested, but there's not much to it. You don't have to go buy a paper cutter. As I said, if you don't have a paper cutter, take the book apart by the staples and then cut and leave like an inch or two of the next the gatefold, the other side of the page attached, and let the person you send it to finish cutting it. That way he's got extra space. There can't be any complaint. He's got everything that he wanted plus extra. So if the book is glued at the spine, I usually take it where it would be close to the center, and I'll bend it back until I crack the spine. Or you can actually shave off the outside paper of the spine. If those are there, I think it's called perfect binding, and it's literally they're glued at the spine. They'll dip the pages when they're folded. I think it's called a signature when the pages aren't cut, and they'll glue them all together. Then they'll cut them down to size, and then the cover is glued on at the last. So you can break that glue and then run a pair of a real sharp knife at the center to split it into two pieces. And then from there, it's usually easy enough to get the glue and the spine of the magazine off, where you can start just pulling the pages off one by one. It may take you a few minutes, but if you're selling an ad for $20 out of a magazine you spent a quarter on, and then there's 5 or 10 or 15 more ads that you might get out of that, or even 5 good ads. You can blow ads out for $10 if you really wanted to. If you want to turn some money, you can put ads up for $7.99. And do those that way, and chances are just do them as a fixed price with no best offer. Run them out at $7.99, and you're going to move some. I try to put them higher. Now, part of the philosophy about listing stuff higher, other people may sell a few more items than me, but I'm selling more or higher priced items, and I don't have to mail as many of them out, but I'm still making more money than some people, well, literally more than the majority of people selling the similar items as me, because mine go for higher money. I don't care if I have to wait or have to wait for the right person to come and buy it. It's a game to an extent, and once you've got a quantity up, you can afford to do this all the time. I turn people down left and right sometimes. And what usually happens is I've got a rare item, or whoever's selling has a rare item, so they're going to eventually come back to me with the higher offer. It happens all the time. I just had somebody come back. He refused an offer for $10 or he put in an offer on $10. He said that was the most he was going to pay on a roller skating label. And I'll show it to you in Saturdays. He ended up buying it for the $15 I offered it to him a month later, because he's not going to find another one. That's part of why I say paper is good, because for the most part, if it's, something, just an oddball vintage piece of paper, chances are there isn't another one exactly like that up on eBay at any time. So you're like the buy box. It's you. So you can, to some extent, set the price as long as you're setting it within the general margin of that similar type of item that sells. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Let's see here. Question. Meet Merp. Let's see. I heard in a video you picked up near Columbus, and I was wondering if you've ever considered meeting any of us that live close to give some tips or to meet. Yeah. I have a video, and I about that too. I have a friend who we have a friendly. It's not really a rival. We rag each other all the time, and we'll give each other a hard time. I went to a pick at his house just a couple days ago, actually, and not at his house per se, but near his house to pick up some more records. And I swung by his house because he lives like 40 minutes away, and it's a little bit of a drive. It's 45 minutes actually. So I stopped by, and we were going back and forth, and I bet him lunch that the antique mall that he says that there's nothing at it you can buy. I bet him lunch that I could find something in the first 10 minutes in that store. And he'd owe me lunch if I could, especially if he walked by it. And literally, I let him walk by the first aisle. I picked up something in the second booth that I made $40 on, or will make $40. And it's in a video coming up here too, so you'll get to see it. But I have met with some people. He's a subscriber. He's on my Facebook group. I've known the guy for years. His name's Jeff. Old timer like me. So yeah, I've thought about that as well too. I've had some offers to take me out picking with them and stuff like that. I probably will do it as long as I've got something going on. For me, my time is money. And I'm not trying to blow off anybody, because I've had a lot of offers, and I'm sure there's a couple people on right now that have asked about going out. I'm more in the interest of getting my hands into it and getting more income coming out of this for me. So I'll be selective, but I may actually do that, or may set up maybe once a month a time when, a couple people can come out, and I'll show you maybe some of the antique malls around here, or maybe I'll drive down to maybe Dayton or something, maybe some central area or something. There's a big antique mall in Dayton on I-75 called Jeffrey's, and I almost always find something really good in there. There's a couple booths that are just phenomenal, and the people end up auctioning the stuff off when it can't sell. So I found out about this place from auctions that I went to and kept looking at names and stuff on the stickers on the stuff that they were auctioning. That's another clue you can do. Look at some of the auction stickers, because sometimes it's other companies or other sellers who are dumping stuff off, and they may not know what they're doing. It may just have went into a booth instead of ever being listed online. So I do buy it that way. But I found out about this Jeffries, and it's a pretty good mall as long as you know what you're doing and you're willing to spend the time to research it. And they get stuff in all the time. It's one of the biggest ones down the I-75 strip. So it may even be the biggest one in the state for all I know. But I've been in there. It's a nice one. They've got a lot of uppity stuff too, which I don't mess with. I don't mess with furniture almost exclusively at all. So, I mean, we have some of our own antique furniture, but that's just through the years. We saw a piece we really had to have, and we ended up buying it. My wife's got an armoire that's an Asian armoire that came from like Japan from like 1920, and that's like one of our nice pieces. So, I mean, we do buy it, but it's got to be a good price and stuff. But anyway, if I do that, and when I'm setting something up with that, I will post in my Facebook group, or maybe even talk about it on here, see if anybody's willing to get together. Again, my time is getting slim these days, but we are going to be bringing hopefully and maybe another employee too. So because things have started to expand in many areas at this point. So anyway, yes, I would like to do a meetup at some point too. So just to answer that, instead of rambling on like I do a lot. So anyway. Edward Dixon, setting up your eBay store. Yeah, I'll have to look into that one too, just because mine have been set up for a long time, and I'm gonna they just changed stuff again, literally like today or yesterday. Even the setup in there, so it's kind of hard to walk you through setting one up. I can probably give you the basics on it, only because I'd have to put information or show some information that I would rather not share online. You know who I am. You know my real name. I've got a Facebook page and a Facebook group, so I'm not trying to cover up anything. Just my personal business financial information I do not give out. Some of that is accessible through some of the pages, but I can show you all the basics and we can talk about it. I can do some PowerPoint videos on it too as well too. So, and again, as I said, I'm going to be going over your fees and the breakdowns. Maybe I'll just include the eBay fees to get your first store, and I'll give you a breakdown on how many listings you get and how you can advance and expand your listings to get more and more items up too. So, and I had another question on feedback too, and I'll probably do another video on an in-depth on how to flood out a negative feedback, because there's a real good way you can do to eliminate the pain of a negative feedback. Especially when you're first starting out, because one negative feedback can really bring you down. Let's say you only have 90 feedback and you get a negative feedback on your 91th feedback. That could bring you down to like 98.7 or even less. It just depends on the time frame of it. So there are ways to flood those out, and there are ways and things you can fight. I actually wrote a list down at one time on all the ones that I had won, which are quite a few. I win or have the majority of every negative that I've had off and up. It's probably like a 75% majority I have removed from eBay by them saying something improper or stating something that wasn't fact, or they emailed me something and then they left different feedback. The second somebody tells you one thing in an email and then after that fact leaves feedback that contradicts their statement, eBay will remove that based on that email. I've had it done many times. So I usually try to get them to state something in the email if I'm thinking that's going to be one that might go stray on the feedback issue before they leave feedback. You need to get them to admit something or to say something or say, yeah, maybe I damaged it, or maybe this or maybe that. The minute they say that, that puts doubt in eBay's mind, and they will remove it because they can't prove it. And the person who's actually the buyer is stating that they may have done it. So, that's usually my fighting point. And if it doesn't happen the first time, I call back another time and talk to another one. And if you have an anchor store, you're talking to a U.S. representative anyway, so chances are you'll get one of the small group that's assigned to you based on where your phone is or your location. That's what because I've talked to the same person like maybe 10 times, the same girl, and she does IT and some other things. And so, I mean, I know her, I know a bunch about her. I even know where she lives, her full name, and how many kids she has, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, you're going to meet people like that when you call, and especially if you have an anchor store anyway, because you get the same people. So anyway, but Edward Dixon, yes, I will add some to that. Yeah, and flips. Yeah, somebody mentioned my fingers. I don't really care what you think. Most of the time they're cut because it's dangerous if you don't, because if you nick them, it's going to go way down into your finger with the knife I use. But when I'm out there doing something, I don't really care if I get dirty. I mean, I came home greasy from restaurants as a regional manager. I handled, sometimes in one of the areas when I did Washington, Virginia, and Maryland, I had 32 stores under me, and you'd see me in there grilling in one of my general manager stores if that's what needed to happen. I didn't care. And I snubbed anybody if it meant that I was helping a customer. So, I don't care about getting dirty. I've cleaned my share of toilets. I've cleaned my share of fryer vats. I've cleaned the hoods, the hood fans, the hood vents, the vent trays, the griddles on the burger fryers. We tore apart the Burger Masters. I've done it all. So, it's none of it's clean. None of it's fun. I've even emptied out the collection vats underneath major buildings, and those are really nasty. It's the oil that's collected through your sump and all that stuff. But anyway, I didn't bother me, and also I am now screening every feedback or comment that is left on my videos. I had a really nasty one that got through the other day. I didn't catch it for an hour or two. And then I get quite a few nasty ones here lately. It's probably from the same person because it always looks like somebody who just came on. I'm not worried about it. But I do filter through them to knock off these nut jobs, I'll say. You don't have to come to my channel. You don't have to watch my videos. I don't mind if you don't like it. No big deal. But I don't want to see any foul language on it. I don't think you've heard me ever cuss. I'm not a cussing person. I'm pretty mild-mannered unless you get me angry or you do something or damage my family or my kids or something. Then you better step back. But anyway, this is how I am all the time. I'm not a non-comical person. We joke around and do stuff too, but this is business time right now. So this is my business mode. You got to learn how to be able to separate business from pleasure and from your home time, especially working in your home or your living area. You got to be able to tell the difference. You got to set up different areas. Like the IRS requires you to keep your business in a certain confined area, and I've got it measured out by square feet so I can tell how much of my house, because you're allowed to deduct so much of your expenses from your actual business expenses. So, part of my house or part of my payments or part of whatever can be deducted, part of the electricity. So if I use 30% of my house, 30% of my utilities can come off and cover that as well too, or more if I'm using more, like all the electrical equipment I have, lights and, multiple light sets, multiple laptops running, and, my sound system and everything else that's running. So anyway, hopefully we got on that one. Yeah, Jaded Gypsy. That's why I said if you're not willing to get dirty, the best stuff I have ever found is digging through people's garages, attics, and basements, because most people don't want to get in there and get dirty. So, and even when you go to an antique mall, sometimes the stuff sitting on the floor or the stuff you got to crawl down to get, that's the best stuff. Like when I'm looking at an antique mall, usually the records are sitting on the floor, and I'll sit on the floor or kneel on the floor. I don't care if I get my pants dirty. Most of the time when I'm wearing clothing, it's work clothes. So if I ruin something, I can actually write it off on my taxes. If you're wearing your normal everyday clothes, you can't write that off because that's your personal stuff. So, keep that in mind. Yeah, that's really cheap, but I'm really cheap. So if I can have two sets of clothing, one that I almost always and only wear for business, and I get them dirty or get them ruined, I just buy another one. It goes in my deductions, and I save a little on my taxes at the end of the year. So, and if you're cutting up and doing boxes and doing all this stuff, I used to ruin a shirt like every other week, with cutting, because I was cutting up so many boxes and we were mailing so much stuff out. But, I've changed and set it up a little differently to alleviate that. So I'll wear a ripped up shirt to, I'm doing stuff like that most of the time because I'm moving. I'm moving, and I use a steak knife to cut up my boxes. It works the best. It's the least hazardous. It's better than an X-Acto blade. It's just what I use. And box cutters are dangerous too. A steak knife is much safer, and you can go a little better on it. It's not going to cut too quick where you cut too far down if you're doing like you're shortening a box per se, because you can shorten boxes. You can make them any size you want. I don't order any of the standard, all the different sizes. I order like a set size. I got like 3 main sizes of boxes, and I know what I can do with each one of those boxes. I can cut them down to mail this or cut them down to mail that, cut them into pieces. So, I'm actually putting together a guide that's probably going to be included with my Patreon. That's literally going to show you actual diagrams on how to cut up all the boxes to do many things. So it'll give you the main size, like a 14-inch cube box, and it'll tell you everything you can mail with it, how to cut it up, which way to cut it, the whole works. So, and I've talked to some people just to get some feedback on if that would be helpful, and everyone I've talked to thought that would be. And it'll give you a list of items you can mail in those as well, too. It's not going to be a huge book, 20 or 30 pages, but it's going to be very filled with information. And that's probably going to be one of my Patreon bonuses, as well as some bolos and some other interesting items there, too. So anyway, just FYI. Let me move on here. Hang on. YouTube's at it again. I just popped and I got 2 pages down, and I guess I missed a bunch already. Liz for a day. Yes, the content is what I'm more worried about. That's why I don't do a lot of let's look at my area. Let's go, picking. I personally don't watch too many of the people going and doing their own picking and hauls, just because I'd rather do it myself. If I'm gonna, why waste my time on that? I sometimes listen to people, other YouTubers, their podcasts or their videos while I'm doing stuff. Mostly it's just music, though, because I'm more motivated by music. I have to turn the news off these days, just from either side. And, I'm not going to talk about, politics at all. So let's not even go there. But I'm just mostly music is what we listen to here. So I don't really listen to too many podcasts. I just don't have time. So, nothing against any other YouTuber, because I wouldn't be on here if it wasn't for many of the other YouTubers on this subject myself. So anyway, big hats out to those folks, too. But let's move on here. Yeah, Robert Reagan. There is going to be a table of contents for the videos, as I said, and I'm hoping to get it up this week. But again, I've got 227 or 226 videos that I've got to go through and kind of give a general list on what's in that video. So it's going to be many pages of information that I've got to put together. I'm probably 75% done. I'm recovering from a real bad case of poison ivy, so I'm still not up to tip-top shape. I got bit by a brown recluse spider like 8 years ago when I was bedridden for 2 months from that. And ever since then, I've gotten pancreatic issues now, and part of my liver was damaged from the poison. I had a big chunk of flesh that, just basically rotted away, and I'm literally bedridden for 2 months. And ever since then, I've got major allergic issues. I can't eat dairy, literally from that incident. And then the poison ivy is just horrendously. I was slurring words. My respiratory system was off. I was having a hard time breathing. I went to the emergency room and had to get a shot, and actually 2 shots. And then I'm on a steroidal pack, and I got to go back for another shot. So, but anyway, everything's going to be fine. My dog is really annoying today. What's up? Go on. But so I'm just kind of getting back in the swing of things. So I may be a little delayed. I'm really trying to get it up before Sunday for a Saturday video. I'll talk about it. If I don't hold it against me this week. We've had 2 real out there weeks here with some family issues, and then the poison ivy scare. So anyway, anaphylactic shock is what they said. It was the basic starts of that. So anyway, I may have to keep an EpiPen from this point on. That's the talk now. So anyway. Let's see here. Thank you, King of Thrift. Just in time flipping. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. When I worked for a company, I didn't really care if they liked me. What I wanted them to do is respect the fact that I took care of my business. And, I got promoted everywhere I've been. I take myself very seriously, especially on the job. When me and my wife are out somewhere, we joke off and goof off, and we're like if you ever watch the Muppets, we're the 2 old men in the movie theater making cracks at stuff. Not against or mean or nasty ones, but we're pretty much just jokesters. We used to play pranks when we worked in places and stuff. So, me and the wife get together. We fit very well together. We're best friends too. So, that you got to have it. Otherwise, I see all the people and all the families that are broken and stuff like that. So nothing against anybody, but, I just married the right person, I guess you could say. So anyway, let me see here. Douglas Shrinaka. Hopefully I pronounced that wrong, but welcome aboard. Well, glad to hear. You got to start somewhere. I started with nothing. I started at the bottom end of this too. We'd been on for a while, as I said too. So we went back and forth on eBay, but eBay's been a godsend to us. It's allowed me to do stuff that I never thought I would be able to do, like my own art lines. My own toy line's coming up. And as I said, we're moving strongly into doing some of our own action figures to actually set up at the Detroit Comic Con to start with. We'll do a small one first. And then if that goes well, we might hit up the Atlanta one. So if we do that, I would do a big meetup too in Atlanta if there's anybody in that area, or somewhere between, Ohio and Atlanta. So, Kentucky, Tennessee, somewhere in that range too. So anyway, just FYI. But we have been talking about meeting ups and stuff like that too. But I appreciate the comments, Douglas. Yeah, you will see it in high def. Most of my regular videos are in high definition, but for some reason, every time I look on depending on where I'm at, YouTube doesn't put them up more than 720, and sometimes they're not even up to that high, even though they were uploaded at 1080. So, I've heard complaints about that many times over, not just, from me, but on all the boards, because I do keep up with, the creator web pages and their feeds as well, too, on social media. So anyway, anything that can help me out. Obviously, I'd love to grow my audience as well, too. When you hit certain plateaus, YouTube offers you things and offers you help for your channel. So that's what I'm looking for, too, because I'd like to get this to broaden my spectrum here. I'm pretty straightforward. I'm not giving you any of the flashy stuff, and I'm not giving you any of the little I'm not trying to flash it up. This is me. This is really what I do. I'm not doing YouTube just to make a fortune, because 99.9% of all my money comes from what you see behind me, and me hustling the floor as best I can. These chairs are like the cockpit, of my business. And that's what I do. My employees come in. I'm here hours before they are, and I am here hours after they are. I do this every day of the week. Not even out of necessity anymore. I'd miss not working. I'm so used to working 60, 70 hours a week. I don't sleep much anyway, 4 or 5 hours a night, on a good night. Lately with the poison ivy stuff, it's been like 2, but when you're working a general manager's job, you're lucky to get 4 hours of sleep a night, literally. So, you're 60, 70, even 80 hours a week. So, but I'm working for myself. So who cares how much time I put in? But anyway, welcome, Nancy. Have I heard of the 400-mile yard sale? Yeah, there's actually there's most states or areas have them. There's like the 125-mile. There was one that went through Meridian, Mississippi. It might be the 400-mile one, but there's a bunch of them. In all honesty, I'm to a point now where I don't really need to go out as much as I used to. I'm going out away from summer, so my pickers are going to be getting less and less calls, because they're not going to be picking up as much. And it's going to be probably moving to auctions a little more than I have. I may take a GoPro into one of the auctions, and Ian likes to do this stuff, or Mario, one of my sons. So we may go into an auction here. I know 2 people who run auction companies where I might be able to get us in behind the scenes, so you can see how it comes in and what they do and what their philosophy is. I've already talked to a gentleman who runs and owns a large antique mall, and he's kind of skittish on actually being on a video, but I've worked out a little deal. It sounds like that we've got it. I don't have it signed yet, but it sounds like it's a done deal where I'll be able to go into his store, and it's a big, huge mall. And I'll be able to show you some things, and it'll be like just us in the store in a certain section where we can go and show you what I look for. That's my goal. And it's not going to be like a rush GoPro video. It's going to be, full-fledged. I'll come in with the lighting and a DSLR camera with, an employee with me and all, and we'll bring in, the actual production equipment as well into there. And out of return, I'm going to be not advertising, but I'll be mentioning the facility. I go to this place, so I actually find stuff in here. So I don't mind advertising a huge antique mall for you to look at, because you're going to find something in there regardless. I buy stuff and make money on stuff from people who work in there, who see that stuff every day still. So, and they know it, because I've bought from the same person, many times, and she's a reseller too. So everybody doesn't know everything. That's why this works, because most sellers or sellers in this industry only know certain areas. I've broadened it to cover anything small, anything paper, anything pre-1990, and toys and stuff too. So toys I know very, very well. I know stamps very well. Postcards I know very well. Victorian trade cards, paper in general, letterheads, postal service stuff. Just there's a ton of stuff that I know. And not trying to brag or, flaunt the information. It's taken me a long time to know it, or it's stuff that I personally had. And, I really was into toys as a kid, and I had thousands of toys. I saved up every dime I had. I cut grass, everything I could do. And I even flipped some of these toys back then and never realized that's what I was doing when I was making a profit off of toys that I bought for nothing at a garage sale back then. When I was even 9 and 10, I was doing this. My mom would even pick up records for me back then, because I've been into records since Stay Up Late came out. It's a Talking Head. So you look that up. That's the first record I bought, and it was an LP. I think it's called Stay Up Late. I can't remember the name of the LP, but it's a Talking Heads one. And ever since then, I bought records, and that's a long time ago. So that's how many records I have and why I have so many records. So anyway, you don't see anything. I'd fill this room up with records if I really wanted to. So. Well, thank you, Disney Family 515 and Jaded Gypsy. Flippin' Particles, welcome. Robert Koppel, how you doing? My dog is going nuts over here. Tina CA, I'm sure I'm messing up the names. It's been a long, long week here. You sold your first postcard and album, and it was good to know how to pack them safely for shipping, so thank you. Well, you're welcome. Hopefully you made some money. That is the key. Your profit margin is what you're looking for. I'm just going to throw this out there. If you're not making at least 50% back return, so if you buy something for $1, you need to make a 50-cent profit on that item, at least, is what I look for. I look for 80% on everything. So if I'm selling something for $1,000, I want to take home, after all my eBay fees, after I don't pay postage, my buyers all pay postage. So after my eBay fees, my PayPal fees, and the cost of the item, I want to walk away with 80% of that, meaning I'm going to walk home with $80 or $800 if I sold something for $1,000. That is my goal for anything paper. Now, it's not like that in clothing. It's not like that in games. It's not like that in books. But paper is what that percentage is across the board. I'll challenge anybody to that. I'm going to show you that in some videos coming up real soon. Actual items I sold with the price into them across the board. And anybody who's been to a store and picked up a couple of postcards, for sure, I'm telling the truth, that you can get them for $1. You can get them for $2 or less, real good postcards, even down to 50 cents or a quarter. Somebody posted a postcard in my group from Placerville. If you don't know what Placerville is, I'm not going to tell you. Open up another window and type in Placerville. The postcard could sell for close to $1,000. So, I don't know what they paid for it, but, that specific postcard is something that I would have been, very, very, very happy to have found. So, people can find these, and they are dirt cheap if you find them right. Clothing, on the other hand, I can barely get a used T-shirt for $4 right now in this area. So there's just no money to be made in it for me. I'm not saying you can't make it, and I'm not saying that the whole market's totally dead, but for me personally, I have no sourcing, no way to scale clothing. And I've talked about this over and over again. What works for me may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for me, because you may have a totally different area to buy clothing in. There's nothing around here. I went back and had to take something back to Petco. We were traveling. I had my dogs with me, and we bought a new set of leashes. They weren't right. So I took them back, and I stopped at a garage sale, which I normally wouldn't do, but I was out in the middle 20 some odd minutes from my house. So I said, what the heck? It was a reseller, and he had cases in his garage, and I couldn't find anything in there to buy. He had one box of some doll clothes and stuff, but he wanted way too much for it. And the only other thing in his entire garage, and it was big, it was a big garage sale, was a Disney 101 Dalmatians. It looked like it was solid sterling, so it was a decent pin. He wanted $10 for it. But it was like a safety pin with like Dalmatian stuff hanging off of it. It was really cute, but $10, I don't know how much money I could have made. And there was no sense me worrying about one item there. But that's a typical garage sale around here, even, sales in general. And even his clothing was too high. I'm not going to pay, $3 or $4 or even $5 for a shirt at a garage sale. It's crazy. So anyway, everybody's seeing TV and seeing the resellers. So you've got all these people biting at your profits right now. So you've got to find other ways to sell stuff, or other marketing means, or other ways to title them, other departments or categories to list them in. And you need to start expanding to other sites. So Etsy for paper stuff. You can sell tons of paper stuff on Etsy. You can sell postcards on Amazon even, and they do sell on Amazon. So, and And I had somebody a little nervous on doing a cross listing. I was nervous. I didn't want to mess up, and I didn't want to be kicked off Amazon before I even got started. But once you get the hang of it, it's a piece of cake. Just remember at the end of the day when you sell something to take it down on the other sites. You can buy the software or rent the software, but it's outrageously expensive when you have 40,000 items, because most of the software goes by how many items you have up. Because basically, they take your items into their service and they have copies of them in their service. So they're moderating your listings. That's why it costs so much. And some of these went up to $1,500 a month for the use of their app, just so they can help me cross list this stuff. I could hire somebody who only does cross listing for less than $1,500 a month. That was crazy. I don't remember the name, but I checked them all out. I was hoping that these were something good that I could use to save me the time, kind of like a virtual assistant, but it would be automated, but it's not that way. The cost was not practical in any way, shape, or form for me. It may work for somebody else who's doing, $100,000 a month. What's $1,500? I would completely see that as well, but that's not me, So anyway, let me go down. Michelle Trout. Picked up reading glasses last week after watching a video. Versace glasses, paid $5, sold for $120. And old broken glasses with gold plating I bought for $1, sold for $18. Yeah, glasses sell, and I say that all the time. I buy every pair of vintage glasses. And again, if you look at the bridge on the vintage ones, especially the octagonal framed glasses, almost every one of those I have ever found is gold filled. In a standard, just the frame itself, gold filled's worth about $18 to $20 for any one of them. I think the lowest I ever sold a pair of gold filled frames for was like $15 when gold was down. And these are things you can find at those bins that have the sunglasses and the glasses, sitting at Savers counter, sitting in those big dump bins at Salvation Army, or Goodwill's. And I've always found sunglasses. I found, I guess it's Bolle, Bolle, the French glasses. I found many pairs of those. In fact, I've got a pair sitting back here now that I may end up keeping. And they're like, $80 to $100 pair of sunglasses, mind you. It's names that most people don't know or don't pay attention to. Everybody knows Oakley or Ray-Bans, but Bolle and some of the other funky names do sell very well. We've made hundreds of dollars off of sunglasses, and I mean hundreds of dollars. You can buy Oakley pieces, even the earpieces, as long as they're not damaged, and you might still get $30 for a pair of good earpieces, sometimes even more than that. So anyway, glasses are always good. Congratulations there, Michelle. Well, I'm glad to hear I changed your business. That's my whole goal. I mean, I didn't get this way just by knowing everything myself. I had some people that helped me in the past too. So, and I've got a video about one of my bosses here, and trying to give you some personal examples and some maybe some motivation, what motivated me. I had an epiphany at one time from one of my bosses. I'll just throw this out there. My wife, we would have had 3 kids now, but my wife lost one. And we found out just before we were moving to take over the Washington, Virginia, and Maryland region. I was going to be the regional there. And my boss dropped every single thing he was doing and showed up to fill in on a minute's notice during his 25th anniversary. And he stayed there for 2 weeks to help us out. I mean, this guy was he taught me pretty much everything I know about, the economics of business, the procedures, the practices. Lou is his name. He worked himself up to running an entire half of the country as a vice president. He started off as, a cook. This guy is the bomb. I wished everybody had a Lou. My wife loves him. My youngest son was an infant. He took care of us. He was it's very rare to have a boss that you would treat as good as your family. And this guy was it. He still is. He's the only one I talk to still on a regular basis. Lou is his name, though. He's the bomb. I could never say enough for this guy in my life. He changed my life, honestly. So I wished everybody had somebody like that, but it just doesn't happen these days. Everybody's out for money. This guy was out. He was there to help me too. And that's part of how I am because of this guy. He explained it all to me. He told me the ins and outs. And if I did something wrong, he explained it to me, If it was an honest mistake, I never got in trouble. So, I did what he asked. I did it to the letter. I did more than he asked for because I felt I don't know what you want to call it. I felt like I owed it to the guy because he did so much to make sure that I was successful. He went out of his way every day he could. I mean, for him to give up his 25th anniversary, he could have sent somebody there to fill in for me. He didn't have to do it himself, but he felt he should because it would have been my first time in the spot. He wanted to have it set up right. He wanted to make sure I didn't fail the minute I got there. I mean, he looked way ahead. That's what I say. He's the reason I look for the big picture and don't worry at all about the small stuff or an accident or an issue or anything like that. So anyway, let me get to the question because I'm probably 2 pages behind again. Let me see here. Question. I'm new selling in Amazon. Any comments about California Proposition 65? If you're talking about the taxes, I believe that's what it is. I could be wrong. From what I understand, chances are if they have to pay taxes, and if this isn't your question, I'll still bring this up here, that there's a threshold on the internet tax that they're trying to get. It's for a business that does $100,000 or more in that specific state. So for you to be charged taxes with all the stock that's going on right now, you have to have sold 100,000 or more just to that state. And the chances of you selling 100,000 to any state, unless you're selling $10 million a year, is almost zero. There is no state that I sell $100,000 to, or any time in the near future would ever sell it to. If anything, it would be California, but I'm not anywhere near that, even on California. So I wouldn't worry about it as of now. And if it's made to be so that every state you have to pay, its chances are they're gonna understand they're gonna have to do it in a centralized way by making the actual websites do it. So eBay would have to set it up for you. They would have to handle and propagate the information to the separate states. My dog's going nuts over here. So that hopefully that's the question you're asking for. I'm not worried about it at all at this point. Chances are, as I said, eBay would handle it or Amazon would handle it. So, that's what I'm looking at with that. So. Jens Flip's got a bunch of sheet music. Some are in rough shape. Best offer, I guess. Yeah, it depends on what they are. I sell damaged ones. The majority of the earlier ones, especially large format, if they're large format, even if they're split down the middle, they're ratted on the edges, they still sell it. I show them many times in my What Sold video, so you can see that I do sell them damaged. A lot of the people that buy the old sheet music like that are buying it to actually play, because you can't go out and buy those new. You have to buy the vintage ones. No one is reshooting or repressing these vintage sheet musics. That's the key in sheet musics. That's why they still sell even in damaged condition. I know people say that's not worth anything, I'm going to throw them away. Don't do it, because a lot of these items, as I said, you can't get except by buying the vintage ones. And there's a herd of people who like the vintage jazz and will actually play it and get together. There's groups, there's ensembles that still are out there. They love the old sheet music. So that's why it works. So hopefully that gives you an idea on that. But look them all up. Look each one up. There's sheet music we've sold religiously for $150 or better. There's a ton of good sheet music that does sell for decent money, especially a lot of the 60s and 70s rock and soul. The soul are the best. Those sell on top of everything else for the most part, or real early jazz. Like Cakewalk or Ragtime sells extremely well. Joplin sells almost everyone I ever get a Joplin, as long as it's a first press, I usually get 60 or $75 for minimum. Joplin is key, primo ragtime as far as I'm concerned. And I took jazz history, so I've heard most of the music too. I went way up overboard. But anyway, welcome Scott Sims. Poor luck with auctions myself. Buy it now is the way to go. Yes, just in time. I would guarantee that is my personal opinion from many years of doing this. I always make more money by doing buy it nows. Always, 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 always. I only do auctions when it's an extremely high dollar item that I may be able to get some extra money out of, but I start the opening bid really high. Or I'll use up my free, I get 2,000 free auctions. So I use them. It lowers my cost, because I would be otherwise listing those as bins. It's not a huge difference, but 2,000 listings for free, basically what you're getting. So I list certain items over and over again. Anyway. Hang on just a second here. I've just lost my spot again. I guess YouTube is not being friendly today. I can't even get my slider bar back. There we go. Hang on, let me catch up where I was at. Let's see here. I think I've got it. Our new flipping lives. Why do I have 2 actual stores? It's cheaper. Biggest thing. Plus, there's certain items that I do not share with the general public, because they're items that only I have up right now. No one else has a clue on what it is. I don't want to share my information because I make a lot of money. The store I share with you, I make less money on than the store I don't share with you. So 40% of my business comes from the account I share with you. 60% comes from the store I don't share with you. The third store I have is just basically a small store, and that's the store I also do most of my purchases from if I have to purchase something. That way I can easily look at it without having to mess with anything, and it's not going to tank anything else that way. But it's cheaper to get a store, and it also helps you differentiate, different lines of business. So let's say you sell, a ton of records in one, and you don't want to mix in toys. It's weird or something. That's just something that I do. Cost is the biggest issue because it's a cost saver. It lowers my cost down every month because otherwise I'd be paying, 5 cents a listing for everything over and above the first 10,000. So you can lower your cost down, and then you get the boxes with it. And if I don't need the boxes, I turn around and sell eBay's boxes back to another buyer on eBay. And that's what I do. Or I sell them to some friends or something who also do eBay and don't get the free boxes. I'll give them a discount beyond it. eBay boxes are overpriced. They're priced higher than, in some cases, double what I can get them all for locally. Same with their bags, same with everything. It's overpriced. That's the one thing I hate about eBay. They took away half of my final value fee credit and gave me boxes that aren't very good. Plus, they eliminated the quantity and the different sizes they had. They used to offer 14 square boxes. They cut out anything big that cost them money to send out. All eBay does now is ship out small stuff in small boxes so they can cut their costs down and make more money off of us from the overpriced boxes. That's one of my complaints. But I've told them that many times. I've told them that on the phone even, to I guess it was a manager or something. But anyway, it's nothing they can do. It's some upper decision on this. They're getting kickbacks from eBay Supplies, whatever the site's name was. But anyway, hopefully that answers it. I'm cheap. Let me see here. Let's go down. Yeah, different niche is king of thrift. That's true too. Plus, you don't have to put everything out there. You can hide your stuff too. There's many items that you will not find that I sold out of the store that I share with you that will not show up in solds. I may show you how to do that. There's a bunch of people who show that as well too. It's just basically clicking a box, like it's a multi-item thing. But anyway, you can, when you delete them at the end once they're sold, they don't show up in the ended listings. You can't look it up. And I do that for one reason, because you can't see how I'm doing things to make money in certain categories. I've got to have some trade secrets where I'm making money. I don't share everything. The antiques and collectibles is what I really like. The other stuff is more strictly business related, where I'm strictly getting a check in from these, and I don't care about the items. It's a money thing. So, I got to pay my bills, and that's one of my safety features. So I'm not hurting my business. I know a lot of the other people who do YouTube talk only about what they do, and their business can be hurt by this. The antiques and collectibles is out there. There's a ton of it for everybody. I'm not worried about losing my market share in collectibles and stuff, because my share has been going up instead of going down. Even almost 6 months into YouTube, I am still increasing my share of the market just because I list so much stuff compared to most everybody else. So anyway, what date can you get more? It's every 3 months. So let's see, January, February, March. So April, you get your next batch. And then let's say April, May, June. So July. I just used mine from this. I think they expire September the 29th or something. So I ordered more bags. Poly bags is all I got from them, because I get the boxes from here. And then I can sell poly bags to somebody else easier than I can sell the boxes, especially if it's going to be mailed to somebody, because it's cheaper to mail the poly bags than it is to mail the boxes. So I turn around and resell it, and it brings my $299 eBay store fees down to like, $210, $220 usually. So that's how I lower my actual cost from my store supply, or from my store fee as well. So when I lower that $75 down, I'm actually cutting it from 4 cents down to like 3.5 cents or somewhere in that range per listing for my first 10,000 listings. And I can break that down sometime if anybody's interested. But I've looked at this from every angle, because as a general manager running, we did $11 million a year in my region, my last region. You got to know where every dime goes to. And if you can save enough dimes, you can bump yourself up over a 3% return from the prior year, and you can get a bigger bonus. So that's why I look at it this way. So you're given plateaus as a regional manager, or even as a general manager. A general manager gets a set pay. Let's say your pay was $45,000. You can get a 20% more than that as a bonus, and it's based on 3 factors, which are your payroll, your expenses, and your COGS. Those are the three basic ones. So anytime you can save something, you increase it. Most companies offer like a profit share. So anything over that 3%, you can get like 20, 30% back as a bonus from your increase over the prior year. So I looked at every little aspect down to the bags, the tape, anything I could use and cut down the cost on, I did, because it meant more money in my pocket, and I always made bonus. That was my number one thing that I did, and I could always get a job, and I still can. People still call me. I need to really take my stuff down off of Monster and I got them on 2 or 3 of them, but I need to just pull those down because I'm sick of getting emails on restaurant regional positions and stuff like that. But anyway, let me see here where I'm back at. Let's see, Liberty for All. What year of magazines? For the general rule, I don't mess with magazines for print ads newer than, say, 1970. There are some with some famous people or Corvettes or something that may sell, but 60s and 50s and below are good for like cars, soda, military and equipment and things like that. And then when you go down to like 1920s and before, you're looking at quack medicine, vintage guns, like a Remington ad from like 1870 or 1880, or a Winchester ad. You're talking 40, 50 bucks, and you're not talking a long tail item on something like that. It's going to sell. There's Colt firearms, and there's Remington firearms, and there's even a Parker's shotgun trade cards. And every one, even in bad condition, I usually get about $100 for them. You know, and they show up in postcards even some of those postcards for Parker's shotgun or Colt sell for good money. So, you know, I know somewhat about guns too. So just because I do military on the side, I'm going to have some military stuff coming up here too. So just FYI, some helmets, you know, actual personal gear that you would have seen World War II, World War I, and going back to Civil War era. So just FYI, like hats and some uniform pieces as well too. I've got a mess of it, so I thought I'd start sharing some of that. Let me see here. Edward Dixon, I had to turn down an offer for a VHS a lot because it would have had gone to Cali and that across the county, so shipping was way too high. Yeah, shipping will get you. But you should be charging them shipping anyway. Don't include free shipping, so it shouldn't have mattered. Everybody pays shipping. I would have let them pay the shipping and sold it to them with them paying shipping. If you're including free shipping, you're leaving money on the table right off the bat, across the board. I don't pay for shipping on anything. Everybody pays me shipping for everything. And I still don't have, you can see what I sell. I sell $3 cards, something that a buyer pays $3 for, and they pay $10 in shipping. So, you know, I don't care. I always make them pay for shipping. So just keep that in mind. If the person wants it, they're going to pay for it. You might have been able to sell the exact same price with them paying shipping if you were giving shipping away. Let's see here. Yeah, YouTube just doesn't like my my chat here. Yeah, it's quarterly, as I said, every 3 months. So it's the next month after the 3 months is over. Let's see here. Let me not miss anybody here. Meat Merp, yeah, it depends on where you're at. So I'm pretty much stick to here. I don't travel a heck of a lot, except in my general area for business. We have went down and done Hocking Hills and stuff like that too, Columbus. So anyway, yeah, I worked in restaurants for a long time. It's a tough job. Jan's flip. So you know, it's 10 years. I did 20. So I was a regional for 10. You know what a regional is then if you're in a restaurant. So I was a general manager. I started off as a assistant manager, general manager. Then I was promoted to regional. And I didn't want to do the VP line because I didn't want to live in DC anymore. So I could have been promoted again, but I just didn't want to do it. I was gone all the time. I hated what I did. It was dirty, nasty. I don't mind getting dirty and nasty, but I got nothing out of it. So, you know, it was 20 years wasted of my life, basically. Bartenders can make some good money. I just saw a bartender one before it flipped out on me again. Hang on a second. Let me hop back up here. I'm going to run it to 8:30, so we got a good 20 more minutes there. So let me pop up again. YouTube does not work well when it gets to this point. See, I just had one page left, and now YouTube's showing me I've got like 3 or 4 pages of questions. So let me get back to where I'm at. Yeah, I'll try to set up some sort of meetup if anybody's interested then. Jennifer Santiago, welcome. 4 premium stores and cheaper than an anchor store. Four premium stores is cheaper than an anchor store, and I get more free shipping supplies. I'll have to look into that because as far as I know, as shipping supplies, the next one down only gets 25 or 75 bucks and then $25 worth of it. The cheapest rate I see on there is either if you're doing the $100,000 or 100,000 item store or anchor store. I don't know of any store that's cheaper than that, even with having multiple ones, but I will look into that if that's the case. Just curiosity's sake. But I've looked into that before, and I know that is not the case when I started this, so maybe it's changed and I just missed it. But anyway, let's see here. Let me go back down some more questions. Pastry chef, huh? I had a friend who went to culinary school. Scott Sims, some people are jealous jerky. I don't really, that's why I say I screen all my comments nowadays because I get all kinds of, some of them are really nasty too. So, and Ian over here has kicked off or blocked a whole bunch of nasty ones, even in these feeds. So I've seen some of the comments and they're pretty bad. It's just trolls again. I don't really care what they have to say. Question, let's see, go to Rich Sanders. Next question regarding viewing postcards with the Loope. Marked 1911 under Loope. I see dots, but they are not colored. Are only colored dots under Loope's modern cards. You'll see some vintage 20s and stuff, and you will see some with dots. The dots, what you're looking for is to make sure it's not a real picture postcard. That's all you're worried about when you're looking with the Loope to see the dots. If it has dots, it's not a real picture postcard. It's the only reason I usually use a Loope on a postcard. You just need to make sure, and I can just tell by looking at them, but for anybody new, just get yourself a Loope. That's the one thing you can use it for. And if, let's say, it's got dots, but you can see a solid like blue sky, that means the blue sky was painted. You'll see some blue skies that are made out of blue dots, and that's just the dot matrix, and it's a printed version. But some of the blue sky on postcards are actually painted blue. Might be the only color in the postcard, but that was done intentionally as well too. So you will see hand painted just blue skies, and if you type in blue sky postcard, you're going to have a bunch that people actually put that in the title. I use blue sky once in a while if it's an early card because they're usually like 1910 1915 cards with blue skies on them. So hopefully that gives you an idea. Let's see here. Yeah, every little bit adds up, King of Thrift. I save every penny, including my clothing costs and everything I can. Yeah, using time better. That's why I don't do a lot of things that other people in videos do, because I literally make my money from doing eBay. I don't make my money from making YouTube videos, and I don't have a goal to make all my money from making YouTube videos. My goal is to expand this and to be able to do my own business with art, toys, my own toys, my own art, and be doing this as well too. So I have many opportunities and many lines of income here. We do 7 sites, almost 8 now. So the more places you get your stuff out, the more money you're going to have up. You know, and the more places you cross list stuff at, the more opportunity you have to sell what you have right now. So if you're not cross listing, I highly recommend you getting yourself set up on Etsy, listing paper items if you got a bunch of it up, or whatever you can sell, whether it's vintage jewelry or toys or whatever else, and looking into Amazon as well too. So get yourself ungated in the collectibles category. And again, I'm going to probably put that video together on Amazon for those who are interested. It's going to take you some time. It's probably going to be a little annoying for those of you who don't have much patience, but it's just a patience and a numbers game and a time frame. You're going to have to wait for them to answer you. And usually it's every 2 days you get an answer back, and you might talk to a different person the next time. So you never talk to the same person, hardly ever, when I contact Amazon. You know, their service isn't that great for getting you ungated, and trying to call them on the phone is, oh my God, that's a nightmare too. Anyway. Let me see here. I got another question. How do I get mildew smell out of old paper? Now, I actually talk about that in here. Steve T. Kreider. I usually don't buy anything that has the smell to it, just because it's a nuisance to have to mess with. But if you put the item, if it's paper, in a airtight bag, I usually put coffee in there, coffee beans in a sock, and put them in the bag airtight. Leave it in there for a couple days. Usually, then I'll let that air out. If that doesn't work, then I put soap shavings, like Irish Springs. I'll shave it with what do you want to call it, a peeler, and I'll peel it and shave them into the bag, and that absorbs a lot of it. And usually, after the time I've absorbed it with the soap chips. All I need to do is let the soap chips air out, take the whole thing outside, and let the paper items sit outside in the fresh air, and it's usually gone or diminished enough where it won't be an issue. I used to put, like in clothing, if it had any kind of storage smell at all, even if I wash every piece of clothing, but if it had any kind of scent just from sitting, I used to put dryer sheets in it, but some people can be allergic, so I totally stopped doing that. So I just let it go the way it is and try not to buy anything that has an odor to it. As I've talked about, I'm highly allergic to things ever since a spider bite, so I try to stay away from mildew and mold and anything like that. I don't need any more health issues. I've had my share of them all over this one little tiny bug about that big. So anyway, let me go down here. Yeah, no one wants to give up the real best-selling items list for a day. And most of the hauls, everybody's showing clothing, and I'm about done with clothing. I don't really care to see much more in clothing. I don't get into the clothing videos anymore at all. I used to watch them when we were doing a bunch of it 3 years ago, but when the market started changing, I just gave up on the clothing videos and stuff. Nothing against them. That's fine if that's what you're into. It's just not my thing. No offense to anybody, but I still like the people who put them up. I'm just not into the actual clothing anymore. It's not my line of stuff. So there's not many people talk about collectibles and stuff, and that's what I'm into. So that's what I talk about. Did anybody else have their ended and scheduled listings? Anybody disappeared? No, I haven't had any. Never even heard that from anybody else. I don't do any scheduled listings. There's no sense in doing scheduled listings for us anyway. I do them all as bins. I just list them whenever I'm doing it. So people are listing every day. Nothing is scheduled. I never do scheduled. I don't do anything in their inventory file or anything like that either. So anyway, I did find out an issue with one of their glitches, which I will talk about too. I want to call them on it, but it's an issue that a lot of people have been complaining about. I found what I think is a work through. Well, I'll just shout it out there. Sometimes when you're listing, it'll say, oops, something happened, and you have to start over on listing. It only seems to happen on my computers only on Windows 7 and before. It does not happen on Windows 10 for us. So you might need to check on which version you are using, and it might be a compatibility issue with your browser with the version of Windows you are using. So think about that one there. And I'm looking into a little more, and I'm going to talk to eBay about that. But I figured that out the other day because I had several that I tried to list on, and the only one that kept doing that same thing religiously, and I've been keeping track of it now, which one does it, it's always the Windows 7 one. So there's a compatibility issue that wigs out when you go to hit, complete it and post the listing, and it comes back and says, oops, and you got to start over. That is the issue. It's got to be a compatibility issue with Windows 7 and below. I know it is with at least Windows 7. So I'm going to update it to Windows 10, and we'll see if that fixes the problem. But I'm digging into a little more because I honestly think at this point now, it's not an eBay issue. It is a browser issue and a compatibility issue with software. So it might be software depending on that. Maybe I need to, my BIOS needs to be updated because the other two laptops that I was using that day, I just updated the BIOS and haven't seen it happen at all on those two PCs. So if you haven't updated your BIOS, look into that as well too. And it could also be, you might have to go in and manually update your video software as well because it doesn't sync now with your browser. So when your computer automatically updates Windows every night or every Tuesday evening, it does not touch, and neither does most of the updater programs, does not touch your video cards. Those are manually update only for the most part. So just keep that in mind. I check those all the time, and I usually find them, once a month or so that I have to manually update some of these things, especially the graphics cards. A lot of the graphics cards have multiple updates, and that is part of the issue why all my computers that are updated and everything have not had any of those glitches that wig out and make you have to type, the whole information and start from scratch. So keep that in mind. But I'm looking into it. I may have an actual answer for you real soon, a real answer that really works. I don't want to go out and say, hey, it works 100% until I know and tested it more. But if that alleviates the problem, I'll be happy. So anyway. If it's paper items, I'll give you another one. There's a chemical you can use too, but I don't recommend it unless you really have to. It's a high dollar item. But I'll talk about that at another time. I literally sold out of all my Aretha Franklin. The only thing I have is like 345s by her right now. Everything else is gone, just like that. Let me see here. Clothing wise, yeah, I don't know where the glitches are all coming from, King of Thrift, but it's only happened literally on my Windows 7. So I have to honestly say at this time, those glitches that everybody's talking about, I do not believe at this point at all that they are eBay, because more people list on the other PCs that do not have issues at all like that. So it only happens on my actual desktop versus the laptop, which runs Windows 7 because of server. It's I use it for serving too. So anyway, it's a Windows 7 issue and below, from what I can tell, and it's a compatibility issue with the browser because it's similar to some of the browser errors I've seen as well too. So I really think it's a browser issue. I really do not think it's an eBay issue. Their coding might be straight up to date and very modern, and the browser may not be acceptable to that, and there may be some sort of compatibility issue. Everything has to be in sync sometimes for all this to work. It really blew me off when it was just the Windows 7. I found that out a week ago, and I've been checking it. The only one that does it is Windows 7 or below, from what I see. So anyway, let me see here. I know if you've got ended listings and they've been up for a long time, they will be gone. But if you go to my eBay selling, you can still find the listings if they've disappeared out of your eBay whatever you want to call it, your main page, like in an anchor store. You can still find them from that way. Or if you know they were listed before, you can actually go back into a prior listing and just re-up them again. So anyway. Got any British stuff? I do sell some British items. I got a lot of British military items. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about any of the counters if you're talking about watchers. Yeah, we just got a few minutes. Let me go down and see if I got any more questions here. Again, like King of Thrift, I'm honestly now thinking like a lot of these issues that everybody's complaining about is not necessarily eBay. They've added new coding that is not syncing up with it. So Windows 10, you need the latest version of everything. You need to update maybe your BIOS is even out, because the ones that have updated BIOS, which you can do that at your house, it's not a bigger deal. You're just saving something to a zip drive or flash drive, and you're restarting your computer, and I think it's F10 you hit, or F2, and you're going in and you can actually reinstall a new version of BIOS. Most people don't know this, but a lot of the actual BIOS on your motherboard need to be updated so often. So if you're using a couple-year-old PC or laptop, I would seriously check in your BIOS. The ones that I have updated BIOS on, I haven't had any issues. So, and they're running Windows 10 latest version. They're running latest version of the graphic software too, across the board. And I check that religiously. Usually Tuesday nights lately, I've been checking it after my Windows updates, my automatic Windows updates. But anyway. Can I sell on eBay before I buy a product? You can sell anytime you want. You don't have to buy anything off eBay, and you can still sell it anytime, Jam Thump. Welcome, Michelle Hill. Thanks again for everybody who did buy postcards from me. Again, if you'd like to support the show, I do have the chat feature enabled, and I do have listings for postcards you can buy. So that way you're not just giving me money, you're actually getting something in return. So just FYI. No, nobody's required to do it, so it's not any feature. I will have a Patreon page, though, which will have better content on some issues. Welcome from UK. I have Corel Draw Professional, and I use mostly Corel stuff, but I do have Anime Studio, and I use Manga Studio too, the latest professional version. Manga is what I use for everything. I use that to do my postcards. I use that to do artwork. I use that sometimes for editing, and I also use that for inverting a negative image into a positive, so I can post a positive image. I actually have a video on that as well up right now on the software I use, showing you how easily it is to switch a negative to a positive so you can post it properly to sell it. So if you've got negatives to sell, that works very well. Let's see here. Welcome, everybody. Will you take less? Welcome. Polish Czech, welcome. Holly Fisher, welcome. We are just about out of here, so I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'm just going to go over this one more time. Halloween giveaway is going to be actual. These are actual full-fledged hand-painted originals. I'm going to give one of these away the week of Halloween. I think I'll just let you pick your choice out of these. This one here is actually the one that you will see the postcard in my Facebook group for sale. This is the original from that postcard. The original looks much better. Wasn't as good of a digital version as I would like, but you will see the difference. This is a hand-done watercolor. It's done on thick paper. Obviously, it's going to have it'll be cut down to postcard size when you get it, unless you don't want it cut down. If you want it cut down to postcard size, we'll actually give you a postcard back drawn on the back as well too. It'll be hand signed and as well. It's a one of a kind. This is the original that I use to print the postcards. I sell these online all the time. When I put one up, I get at least $100 for them, up to $130. So this is something I'm giving you $100 option to have. And if you sell it, that's your prerogative. But I'm going to give it to the winner of the prize on Halloween week. I'll give you some more details as we get closer. But it's this one here is your option. This one here is another option. Again, this is a postcard as well too. It's available even for sale. This one is not a postcard. This was a concept. Again, these are all hand painted originals. So this is literally, an hour or two of work of mine here. If you want an original, you want something for free, Halloween week. And as I said, the trilobites will be given away. I'll give a trilobite away for Christmas. As again, I'm waiting on a contract deal to know. I don't want to give anything away or violate any licensing possibilities until I hear back from a museum that is actually reviewing an application I put in now. So it may be a national contract, but I doubt it. But if it turns into a national contract, I'll have to pretty much sign exclusivity to certain places. So anyway, that's the reason I haven't done it for Halloween and had to change it up. I didn't know all the aspects of this because this is new. I learn as I go with some of the art in the galleries. I used to display in galleries, but I never had to do a museum consignment acceptance. So, I've got some basic forms I use. But anyway, it's about 8:30. I've got an employee off now, so I don't want to hold it up. I try to go through the questions. I will go through and hopefully write down some more so I can address them too. But I already got a bunch of videos ready to go for this week. Sunday again is my What Sold, and every Wednesday is live broadcast. So again, I'm glad to have everybody on. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your questions. I know I'm long-winded on some talk, but I try to answer all the questions in the order they come in, and I try to answer them as complete as possible. Any information I give you is obviously my opinion from my personal experience of doing this, because this is what I do. My job is not to make money on Amazon or on YouTube. I am not a YouTube star. I am someone who likes YouTube and likes doing it, but my money is from what you see behind me. 99% of it across the board. So anyway, glad to have you. Have a good night. Hope your eBay is good. Sorry I gotta let you go, but it is 8:30 and I'm glad to have you all here. If you didn't hit the like button, please hit the like button for me before you log off. Glad to have the feedback as well too. So if you'd like to make some comments, please do. But have a good evening, everybody.